It has always been our job and our promise to come to this podcast exactly where we are, exactly as we are. And I have not been doing that. This episode is for all of my space holders, whether your role in life is a mother, a sister, a friend. You could be a fitness coach like I was for so many years, a mentor, any role you've stepped into in life where you've had to hold space for other humans. I think you will really relate to today's conversation. I started to feel a push and pull in my body around November, December, January, this last holiday season. I've spoken about it on the podcast plenty of times before. I've mentioned what I refer to as my Saturn return. That's what I started to feel around the holiday season, this past holiday season. So Christmas 2023 or 2022. So a Saturn return is every 27 to 29 years. Saturn returns to the degree and the sign that it was at the time you were born. Saturn is your cosmic entryway into adulthood, and it's the cosmic exit out of your current situation and into something more beautiful. So I am 28 years old. I turned 28 in February. And the Saturn return, the feelings of your Saturn return usually start to creep up between 27 and 29 years. Because Saturn is the planet of responsibilities, of time and wisdom, a Saturn return is basically your astrological coming of age. So it happens a couple times in your life. And it's like the push you need to really enter true adulthood. Here I am at 28, even a little before that. Here I am at 27 thinking that I was an adult. I was a woman. I have been through many experiences in my life that I would think categorize me as having experienced adulthood. But your Saturn return is pretty intense. It's the push you need to enter true adulthood, meaning Saturn demands that you take full and complete accountability for your choices, propelling major, challenging transformation. Two things can happen when you're going through a Saturn return. You can resist, deny, ignore, push away, pretend it's not happening. And that's what I did. Spoiler alert. Or you can fully own where you are at. You can be completely honest with your struggles. You can lean into your Saturn return and all of the chaos that comes with it and sit with it, or you can run away like I did. Along with my Saturn return, which I'm currently going through, I was also this last year going through an immense amount of change in my personal life. So I was a group fitness instructor for as long as this podcast has been going. And before that, I graduated from Villanova University in 2017, and I went right to SoulCycle training. I was working at a SoulCycle in Pennsylvania, and I had a TV production job at the time, but I just loved being at Soul. I am a former athlete, so I love the competitiveness of Soul. I've talked about this so many times, but I was going through SoulCycle training not even a year after I graduated college. I was 22 years old. I was still a baby, still figuring out what I wanted to do, but this was something that really excited me. I became a SoulCycle instructor. I went through training. I graduated that summer, and I got on the schedule in Chicago as a full-time SoulCycle instructor. Fast forward 6 years later, and I spent 100% effort of those 6 years making my name in the fitness space. I grew a following of the most amazing, authentic community here in Chicago. I made so many deep, incredible connections everywhere that I've taught. And I had a rough year last year. There was a lot of personal things going on. There was a lot of hurt and betrayal and eye-opening experiences. There was a lot of questioning who I was allowing have access to my energy, who I was consciously picking to be in my life. And there wasn't a whole lot of thought to that. I wasn't sitting down really understanding the consequences of my actions of just being a people pleaser and showing up for every single person in my space. As a space holder in the fitness industry for 6 years, I have had to get up every morning, and this is so relatable to so many different careers. So if you relate to this, it's not just in fitness, but I had to get up every single day. Every single morning, I had to get out of bed and I had to show up for a room most of the time full of strangers and their emotions. And I had to hold space for 45 minutes plus, no matter how I was feeling. There was no time to check in with my body. There was no time to check in with my mind. It was 6 years of being a container for everyone but me. And I'm not complaining. I am so grateful for the 6 years I had in the industry. I have met so many incredible people. I have so many memories. I have full body chills right now thinking about my time in the fitness space. I don't think my time in fitness is done. I am at school full time right now and I'm just taking a brief pause, but I do feel later in life that I will return to the space, but right now it's time to take care of me. It's time to hold space for me. I have an attachment issue, as some of you know. I I feel like sometimes I'm like glue. Everything sticks to me. Words, situations, people, things that happen. I absorb the things around me and I hold on to them like they're my own. And being in the fitness space for 6 years and standing in front of a stage, putting on sometimes an act because I just was not feeling it and I had to fake it for 45 minutes, being a container for so many people, I started to absorb that what was going on around me, the emotions, the things that other people were going through. I started to build myself up from 22 years old to now, which is still so young, which is still a time when you're discovering yourself. I started to pick up pieces of what was happening around me and let them stick to me. And I would take them home with me. And I would get lost between my personal identity and the identity of Kristen, the fitness trainer, who is constantly holding space, who is holding a container for everyone else to just kind of dump into. Safe to say, I felt very disconnected from my own reality. I've shown up on here on this podcast week after week after week. As of recently, barely holding it together. I won't lie to you, grounding myself in this community, but not allowing myself to fully let go and exist in my own struggles. I have, and I'm known to do this, put a cherry on top or a bow tie around a lot of heavy things to try and make them seem okay. I don't know if that's like the people pleaser in me. I don't know if that's just a little bit of not wanting to stir the water around me and making sure that everyone around me feels good, because that was my job for 6 years, making sure everyone around me feels good, regardless of how I feel. So making things seem better when they're actually really terrible really kind of stunted my mental growth. But these last 8 months now, the universe really decided to hold a mirror up in front of my face to all of the icky things, all of the, wait, I thought I worked through this. Wait, I thought that I was over this. Wait, didn't this person like me, or didn't the situation go well? All of that is now being reflected back to me. My Saturn return has been a bitch. So many big things happened that I didn't, and I never allowed myself to feel and to sit in and to process. I just kept moving forward. I really thought I could pull a fast one on the universe there. You know, hey, you're raining down a trauma parade on me, but it's cool. I've got an umbrella and I can deflect. But oh my gosh, was I so wrong? And it's like so silly to sit here and talk about, because there were moments where I would question myself of, something doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong and I'm not addressing things in my life. But I pushed it down. I ignored it because it's easier to keep moving than to stay still. I've had to admit to myself this year that although I felt like I was a container for others to dump their hurt into, I also hurt a lot of people I love by not addressing my own pain, by not sitting in my emotions, and by not practicing what I preach. My own insecurities, my own fears and doubts, my own struggles. I never asked for help. I told the people in my life I loved, hey, I'm going through it right now. I can't show up as the person you usually know me as, but don't worry. I don't need anything. I will be fine. I will figure it out. But just in case I seem a little off, this is what's going on. And it was always met with, especially from like the people I love who are just the best in my life, it was always met with, let me hold this for you. Let me help you. Let me carry that for you. And it was always from my end, no, I don't need that. I don't need help. I don't need to be a burden. I don't need help. My job is to help others. I am like a master at it. I can do it on my own. I can figure it out on my own. Geez, that was intense. And it's hard now. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but it's hard now to accept help. I think just for so long, I've wanted to be in control and to do things on my own. As an athlete growing up, I was very intense. My mom sometimes listens to the podcast, so she's probably shaking her head yes, but I was very intense in athletics. Like if I didn't come in first, if I wasn't the best, I played a lot of individual sports too. If I wasn't the best of the best, I let that shit get to me. And I was so angry. I remember in high school, maybe this was eighth grade. I don't even think this was high school yet. Like I was so young and I was the top of my class in the long jump and the high jump. I didn't love running in track and field. I loved the field part more because it felt more of like all eyes on you at that time. I was at the Penn Relays, which is a big event in Philadelphia for high jump and long jump. I think I placed third in long jump, which was phenomenal for the area and the other athletes I was going against, but I knew that I was going to crush in high jump. And it was me. It was down to the final two, me and one other girl from another school. And my dad was in the crowd. And I remember it was our final jump. You get 2 tries. And the first try, my butt had hit the pole and it knocked it down. My second try, just barely, I had cleared the pole, but I had gotten cocky and I had dropped my left foot. I can see this happening in my head right now. And my heel had lightly, ever so slightly, grazed that fucking high jump pole. And I had knocked it off and it had hit the ground. And the other girl had won. And I walked myself to the middle of Penn Field with thousands of spectators. I sat in the middle of the field and I cried my ass off for 20 minutes. I was so angry at myself. I was so intense. I couldn't face anybody. I needed to deal with that shit right then and there. I needed to put the weight of what had just happened on my shoulders. I cried by myself for 20 minutes in eighth grade in the middle of Penn Field, not caring who was watching. I picked myself up. I went to find my dad and we went home and we didn't talk about it because that's the way that I liked to handle things. I don't want to be a burden to others. This period in my life, which I want to preface again this with, I am in the middle muddy section of what's going on. Lexi and I come to this podcast with a lot of stories and experiences and things we've learned. This right here is not something I have mastered nor learned yet. This is something that I am in the middle of. And this is something why I'm so grateful that I do have the platform of this podcast to share my story because it's connecting with others who feel the same. But this is something that I am in the midst of right now. And I am interested to see when we check in what's going on in my life. And I'm interested to look back at this 5, 10, 15 years from now and like hold my sweet little self and be like, Kristen, it was all going to work out perfect. You didn't have to worry that much. But this Saturn return is whooping my butt. And I am making a promise, and I have made a promise to myself over the last couple of weeks that I will start showing up in all aspects of my life authentically. I don't have to wear the mask of the space holder anymore. I finally, for the first time in my life, and I've been asking for this for so long, can step off the stage of fitness, can step back from a lot of the environments I was in where I was holding space for others. And I can finally focus on me and I can hold space for myself. And I want to be fully honest and transparent and authentic in this process because I haven't done this in the past. I haven't been fully honest and authentic with myself and with this community, of course. It's scary. This point right here, something I like to have visuals with things. So something that I visualize that I'm going through right now, which is helping me get to the other side of the Saturn return by sitting in it versus just ignoring what's happening and not seeing it for what it is. But I start to visualize. I recently started to do this. I like to look at this period in my life as like a butterfly, a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. And now, before you roll your eyes and you say that shit is so corny and cliche, one thing about a caterpillar transforming to a butterfly is inside the cocoon. You know how caterpillars will kind of like post up somewhere and zip themselves up in that cocoon, and then they come out in a little bit as a beautiful butterfly. What really happens inside the cocoon, the caterpillar's body breaks down into what's kind of like a soup. I'm not even kidding. You can research this. Soupy mess going on inside that cocoon, and it's reorganized into the adult structures of the butterfly. This can take anywhere from 10 to 15 days. It just kind of depends. And then finally, the adult butterfly emerges from the cocoon, a completely reorganized animal. It started as one thing, it mixed itself up and broke down into this soupy, gross, like sticky, heavy, horrible 10 days. It reorganized itself and it emerged as a butterfly. Think about that. How many times have you sat there and said, I can't even pinpoint what's going on inside of me right now. I feel like I am jumbled up soup, mixing around in there. I don't know what my thoughts are. I don't know what I'm letting my reality be constructed of. I don't know what I'm letting influence me. I can't even tell my thought by something I saw on TikTok. I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I don't know what job I want to do. I don't know what career path I want to take. I don't know what type of person I want to be with because I don't even know what's going on over here inside me. I don't know what the soup is doing. It's reorganizing into something, but like, damn, can it hurry up? I recently had what I like to call the big meltdown. This has happened to me one other time in my life. This happened about 10 years ago when I was 18. The big meltdown I like to describe, again, I'm a visual person. You know, like a little kid who is going nonstop all day. So let's say a child between 4 and 7 years old. You have activities, you have school, you have after school activities. You're playing sports in the summer. Maybe you're going to camp. I remember I was going from swim practice in the morning to art class, art school during the day, back to a swim meet at night where my mom would pull me out of my final race to take me to the library to go to book club, all between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. as a 7-year-old. Angel numbers, 777. It comes a point, it's so much fun. You love going to all these activities as a kid. You're having a blast. Your day is great. But then there comes that breaking point, that big meltdown where you haven't taken your nap, or maybe you didn't eat your snack. You're running on fumes and your body just breaks. You start crying and throwing a temper tantrum. Maybe you start screaming things to your parent that you don't mean. You hate them. You want to go home. You want to go to bed. That icky feeling of like, I can't do it anymore. And it's the worst when you feel it as an adult because it takes you back to that like 7-year-old self. The big meltdown. You weren't nourishing yourself throughout the day. You were on go mode. It's kind of what happens when you burn out. And I recently had a big meltdown I did. I did. And I knew it was happening in the moment it was happening. I let myself feel it. I let myself finish the meltdown. And then I took a couple days to step away from that meltdown. Because boy, does it feel different to have a big meltdown from 8 years old to 18 to 28. Like, I'll tell you, the amount of self awareness I have now and the anger that I have knowing that I just had this big meltdown, like, it's so easy to brush it off as a kid. It's so easy to blame hormones when you're 18, but holy shit, when you are when you are an adult, a fully grown adult who is aware of what they're doing in the moment, oh, it makes you feel so, so icky. Oh my God. Just when you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this big meltdown, if you can relate to what I'm saying, just when you think you made it past the difficult times, you feel like you're about to level up. You're like, I got this. I'm moving past this. I'm sitting through it. The universe throws you a curveball and holds that mirror up directly in your face. And it shows you what you haven't done. I've spent 6 months, 8 months, which I also want to say my big meltdowns usually last a year. When I was 18, I know that year like the back of my hand. I was experiencing and processing so much grief and loss and weird changes that were happening in my body and weird feelings I was experiencing. And you're 18 and you're dating and you're getting dumped and everyone's hurting each other and there's drama. My meltdown at 18 lasted a year. So I knew the last couple weeks when things were brewing inside of me. I'm at like the 8 month mark of when I started to feel this way. So it does give me a little hope that me personally, like my life waxes and wanes. Like I'm going to have a really good 5 to 10 years after this. And then I'm going to fucking have a big meltdown again. It's just, we are humans. It's the human experience and we need to accept that. And I need to accept that. But it gives me hope that I am on month 8 of how I've been feeling because I know I see the light. I'm there. But it's funny because I thought 4 months ago at month 4, I was like, no, I'm doing the things that I need to do because I started to feel crappy. I'm meditating again. I'm hanging out with people. I'm going out. I'm not isolating. I'm doing the things at home, like taking care of my body and self-care and things like that. Like I'm walking through the steps. But boy, oh boy, did I try to fool the universe again because a big old mirror came in front of my face recently. I've been preaching this shit that I've been doing all of this good stuff this last year. I've talked about on the podcast how I haven't been feeling my best, but I'm taking the steps I need to get there. Oh my God, I'm just lying to myself at this point. I took a look in that mirror recently and I felt deeply what was holding me back from like getting out of this space. I haven't trusted myself and I haven't forgiven myself for mistakes I've made. I haven't been able to trust my own intuition. I haven't been able to trust my own gut in a little while. And I haven't forgiven myself for the mistakes I've made as a human. I've just tried to move past all of them and put them in a little filing shelf and say, I'll look at those later. But then you have the big meltdown and that mirror is put in front of your face and you're able to see exactly why you're not getting out of this, why you're not leveling up. And it's a humbling moment, especially when you are in the fitness wellness space. It is a humbling moment to see like, oh my God, I am not showing up as the person I claim I am because I'm too scared to go that deep. Oh my God, Lexi's going to love this episode. Every moment I've turned my back on my own intuition. Every moment you've turned your back on your own intuition. It's going to play in your head like a movie because it did to me. It's like a movie reel and it is so, so, so messy. And it is so, so, so cringe. And it gives me like visceral full body reactions when I see over the last year feeling like shit. When I see the moments, it's almost like I'm in a third person point of view. I'm floating over my body. And the last couple weeks have been once the big meltdown kind of started and I started to unpack all of these things really. I've seen messy, cringy, horrible things where I can hear and see what I'm doing. And I can see that my intuition is telling me to do something else and I'm just ignoring it. I'm not listening to myself. I'm not trusting myself. I'm not forgiving myself for being a human. I'm trying to hold my shit together like glue. And it's not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not mine and it's not your responsibility to carry others' experiences anymore. I've been unpacking that and forgiving myself for that. And this doesn't mean I'm telling you to, after you listen to this podcast, like go out and say, fuck everyone's feelings except my own, because I've also done that. And that is not the answer. It's not your responsibility to carry others' experiences anymore. If you are a space holder, you need to protect that. You need to protect your energy. You need to do everything you can to protect your energy when you are holding other people, holding space for others, because it is not our responsibility to carry that once we're done holding it. You can't just sit there and put everyone's life ahead of yours and think that's love. Guess that quote. Guess that quote. Guess that quote. I watched it last night. Perks of Being a Wallflower. I'll say it again because it's fresh in my head. You can't just sit there and put everyone's life ahead of yours and think that's love. We do it for everyone in our life. We do it for our family members, our friends, our partners. We do it at work. We do it at work. We put other people's life, other people's work, other people's experiences ahead of our own because we think that's us loving them and that's us taking care of them. Baby, that's doing the opposite. That's quite literally doing the opposite because you are pushing yourself to the eventual big meltdown. You are stripping away your identity. You are not loving yourself. In turn, it's impossible to love others. And that's just not fair. That's not fair to you. And it's not fair to the people in your life who you're doing that to. Brene Brown once said, and if I butcher this, I'm so sorry, but Brene Brown once said, owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but it's not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us the most vulnerable. Only when we're brave enough to explore the darkness, we will discover the infinite power of our light. Owning our story can be hard, but it's not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness, we will discover the infinite power of our light. She also once said that we cannot selectively numb out our emotions. We can't numb out just the painful ones because then we're also numbing out the positive ones. It's kind of like a group package, a buy one, get one. You can't just selectively numb out the bad things that are happening because that's also numbing out the positive. If you are willing to meet yourself in the dark moments, if you are willing to stop putting a Band-Aid over your hurt and other people's hurt, if you're willing to sit in the difficult moments and discover and explore the darkness, you will 100% of the time, and I'm saying this as a manifestation for myself as well, because I'm still in it. We all know that. You're still in it too, I'm sure. We will discover the infinite power of our light. The good that comes after, the beautiful sunny day that comes after the storm. It doesn't matter how good or how amazing of a person you are or I am. It doesn't matter the image of the person that others think we are, space holder or not. We have to give ourselves permission to heal. We have to let ourselves sit in the shitty stuff, to leave the shitty stuff there. I see so many points in my life where I didn't sit in it and I tried to be the peacemaker and the healer and I tried to fix it quickly to get back to neutral and to get back to everybody being okay. Which now looking back, I just never wanted anyone mad at me. It's a selfish thing to do, but in the moments, I just wanted everyone to be okay. So I would sacrifice my own healing. I would sacrifice not sitting in the shit And I would just kind of like pack it in a little box, bring it with me and deal with it later. I do that a lot. And I do it with physical things too. I will do my laundry. I will put it in the laundry basket, freshly folded and clean, and I will stick it in my closet to do later. I don't deal with the hard stuff in the moment. Oh my God, that's crazy. The human experience, we have to allow ourselves to feel it all. That's what being a human is. That's why we are so lucky to be going through this, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. That's the human experience. And if you start to numb out just the bad parts, you are also dulling out all of the good, because that's just how the human experience works. I can't explain it. I don't know the science, but that's just what happens. You can't just pick one side. You're going to break. You're going to burn out. It's never too late. As we're going through all of this and you're like, fuck, 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 Kristen, like, fuck, I know what you're saying. I relate. I am there with you. What do we do? I don't have the answers, but what I know and what I am learning in forgiving myself is that it's never too late to become the person you've always wanted to be. But you have to forgive yourself. You have to clean up the self-talk. You have to surround yourself with people who are going to love and nurture you at your lowest. And the most important part is you have to let them do that. Okay? Okay? You have to let them do that, Kristen. Okay? You have to let them do that, you listening. Okay? You got to clean up the self-talk. That is like my number one tip, and the number one struggle that I'm working through right now is cleaning up my self-talk. I had spent the last 8 months being my biggest bully, being my biggest hypocrite. The self-talk was so horrible for so long. I don't think I went a day for 8 months where I didn't think or say out loud, like, I suck, or this is happening to me because I'm a bad person, or things that along the nature of like crappy self-talk that just manifested itself. I'm not a good person. I suck. When I say those things out loud, like, it makes me feel sick now because I'm learning what that's done to my own self-esteem. I've learned that situations I've been in and I've seen the world turn cold, I've blamed myself for it. And I've put that self-talk in my head. You got to clean up the self-talk. I can't tell you how much the last like 3 days have felt that I've cleaned up the self-talk in my head, and I've started the process of forgiving myself for the junk that I filled my head with before. It's not easy. And I catch myself still. It's only been 3 days that I've been trying this, but I catch myself starting to say something negative in my head about myself and or about a situation or about an experience. And I have to stop myself. I have to press my feet harder into the ground and be like, be where your feet are for a sec. Clean that up. You're amazing. You are a good person. You are a human who makes mistakes, but that doesn't make you bad. And then I like to like funk it up and be funny. And I like to say like, you're a baddie with a fatty, you know? So cringe, but it's true. It's so cringe, but it's true. You gotta give yourself that hype up self-talk, that love, that positivity. It's no one else's job. It's your job. I feel like this is also a movie quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I just watched it, so it's fresh in my head. But I think the quote from Perks is, we accept the love we think we deserve. I want to put a spin on that because we're cleaning up the self-talk. You have to accept the love you don't think you deserve. You have to look at that person, that situation, that thing that is trying so hard to love you and to help you and to support you. And you have to stop telling yourself you don't deserve it. You have to accept help from others. As we navigate this murky water in front of us together as a community, you have to accept help from others, myself included. Immerse yourself in travel. Put yourself in new places with new people that are different than you and that think different than you and have different opinions than you. Give back to your community. Pray, manifest, pray, whatever that looks like for you. Talk to the universe, talk to spirit, talk to God. Give them your struggles. Let them take it. Be super grounded in the words you're saying and putting out into the universe. That includes cleaning up the self-talk. Listen to other people's stories and experiences. Be creative. Drive yourself to Michael's and get a fucking sticker craft book that you know is going to heal a piece of your inner child and get creative with it. Sit on the grass in the middle of the day when it's beautiful outside and let your body feel the tingles from the grass, the tickles of the wind and the grass blowing against your body. Maybe a little ant crawls up your leg. Don't smush it. Don't swat it. Don't push it away. Let it be there. Get out in nature. Be in nature. I promise you, once you start to do these things, you will start to come home to yourself. God, I'm just full of good one-liners today. But as I'm sitting here thinking about a lot of pain and suffering and coldness we see in the world and we experience and we try to fix and put on our shoulders, we get lost. We show up as someone who we don't recognize. And it sucks, but it happens because that's the human experience. We have to feel it and forgive it. Hurt people will hurt people. We all know that saying, right? Hurt people will hurt people. But I've got a better one that we can all start to do together right now. In this moment, it doesn't matter how deep into your shit you are. You can change your life at this very second if you care enough and if you're motivated enough and if it's your time. If you feel like it's your time to start moving out of it. And if it's not, it's okay. I understand. I sat in the shit for 8 months. If you're ready to change your life, healed people will heal people. Get healed and then go heal. I don't care what you've done up until this point in your life. I don't care. And let's be real, no one else cares around you either. And if they're still harboring and holding on to judgment or hating you for something, then that's on them to figure out and that's on them to sit in and work through. It doesn't matter what you've done up until this moment. If you are ready to make a change and become the person you know you are destined to be, to become a healer, to help people, to make the world a better place, then get healed and then go heal. Take a moment, let your body rest. I know this was a lot. I'm going to have a vulnerability hangover tomorrow. I know it. Let your mind empty. You get to exhale now. You get to be more you than you have ever been in a very, very long time. You deserve everything you want. I love you. We are in this together. We've got this. We've got this. Oh, and before I forget, happy Pride.